Hi everyone, this is Mr Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. This is of a patient who attended with blocked earwax in both ears, and we're just starting off in what is their worst right ear. And the consistency of the earwax in this ear is very sticky, very gooey, very glutinous. And I'm just using the Zollner suction probe to perform microsuction here. And what I'm trying to do with the suction probe is trying to detach the sticky wax from the canal wall. However, I think I'm going to have to use some olive oil spray. There we go. And what the olive oil does, it helps to bind the wax together. And not only that, but it lubricates the inside of the suction probe. Quite often with mushy wax like this, as you're suctioning it, it gets trapped inside the suction probe, clogging it, and then you have to remove the suction probe from the ear. There is a cleaning rod that we push through the suction probe to clear it of any blockages. But quite often when you put a bit of oil in, it just helps to bind it together. If you've been watching my videos, you know I like to use food analogies, and I always compare olive oil to an egg in a potato or fish cake recipe, for example. It helps bind all the ingredients together in the same sense. That's what the olive oil does in here. So you can see that plug was really binded together. It came out in one singular piece. There's the eardrum, very stunning view there. There is a slight attic retraction, so the top part of the eardrum is sucked in. Similar to, when we say sucked in, the middle ear, so the cavity behind the eardrum, should have the same air pressure as the atmospheric air pressure, and there's a tube called the eustachian tube that connects the middle ear to the back of the nose, and the eustachian tube is responsible to equalising the air pressure in the ear. And if the eustachian tube is blocked at the back of the nose, the nasopharynx, then it creates a vacuum. There's no air left behind the eardrum, so the eardrum gets sucked in, and it's similar to when you're on a plane. So whenever I say the eardrum's sucked in, think about it in the same way when you're on an aircraft and you're descending on an airplane. So now, if the descent is quite steady, then you may not experience your eardrums getting sucked inwards and should I say pushed inwards actually, because it's the cabin pressure in the airplane which pushes the eardrum in as opposed to the eardrum being sucked in. You could argue it's the same thing. But obviously this patient is not on an aeroplane, but because their eustachian tube is blocked, they can't equalise the air pressure behind the eardrum. It creates a negative pressure, so there's less air pressure behind the eardrum, which then causes the eardrum to get sucked in, normally in the attic region or the back part, the posterior part of the eardrum. So the right ear, we managed to clear all that. It was a bit sticky on the surface, so I got as much out as I could safely as possible. Everything else is just staining, that's fine. One of the things we have to be careful of, and especially when we teach our clearwax delegates, is try not to overclean the ear. And quite often when you read comments on social media, people have a go at you sometimes for deciding to relieve a bit of wax here and there. And it's completely fine to leave a bit of wax. So in fact, I was just talking with an ENT surgeon the other week, who's a good colleague of mine, and we were discussing ear care in general in the UK, and we both agreed that sometimes less is more, and when we're training people, we need to make sure that they don't overdo it, especially if they're a novice and they're just learning their trade. When you're a bit more experienced, it's fine, but a bit of wax is not going to do anyone any harm. So we're here to relieve the patient of their symptoms, and a bit of wax on the canal wall is not going to cause any issues. Sometimes as well, when you're showing the video back to patients, they always kind of comment, we've left a bit here and there. We just have to explain that by sometimes trying to remove the wax off, say, the bony part of the ear canal especially, or the eardrum, it can be painful for the patient. And the last thing we want to do is remove a speck of wax, which is insignificant in terms of how it's going to affect the patient's hearing, and potentially then traumatise the ear or cause pain. Now, sometimes I do hover over the canal wall if it's a bit, because it's risk-free. But whenever there's a slight chance where you get this intrinsic feeling when you're performing the procedure that the patient may not be that steady, or actually I don't want to try and remove that because it can be a bit difficult, we just leave a bit of wax, it's no problem. I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Do tune into my other YouTube channel, so I'll put the link in the description, the Clearwax YouTube page, which I'm going to upload some more videos shortly. Thank you, bye.